Why do we keep chasing people who don't choose us? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself why it hurts so much when someone doesn't choose you? Maybe it's a relationship that ended. Maybe it's a parent who was emotionally unavailable. Maybe it was a friendship that slowly faded away. Maybe you were overlooked for a promotion, excluded from a group, or constantly found yourself trying to earn someone's attention. For many of us, the pain isn't just that someone left. The deeper pain is what we made their decision mean about us. We begin asking questions like, what was wrong with me? Why wasn't I enough? What did they see in someone else that they didn't see in me? Those questions don't just stay in one relationship, they begin following us through life. That's exactly why I wrote the book, Chosen, Not Chasing. One of the greatest discoveries I made through studying psychology and theories around attachment, trauma, and abandonment, along with my own healing journey, is that many of us aren't actually chasing people. We're chasing something much deeper. We're chasing validation, we're chasing worth, we're chasing security, and we're chasing the feeling that if someone finally chooses us, we'll finally feel complete. But here's the problem: no human being can permanently give you what you're asking them to provide. If your identity depends on someone else's decision, then every rejection becomes a verdict on your value. Every breakup becomes proof that you're not enough. Every unanswered text becomes evidence that you're unlovable. And every disappointment confirms an old story that was never true to begin with. When we experience rejection, abandonment, inconsistent love, and emotional neglect, especially during childhood, our brains become wired to search for safety. We are naturally drawn toward people who feel familiar, even if familiar isn't healthy. That's why many people repeat the same relationships over and over with different faces. There might be different names in different cities under different circumstances, but it always has the same emotional outcome. Why? Because until the wound is healed, the pattern often repeats itself. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the harder someone pulls away, the harder another person chases? That isn't always love. Sometimes that's anxiety. Sometimes that's fear. And sometimes that's the nervous system trying to repair an old wound through a new relationship. The tragedy is that we call it love when it's actually survival. And survival makes us ignore red flags. It makes us settle. It makes us overgive. And it makes us explain away behavior we would never accept if we truly believed we were worthy. I know this. Why? Because I've lived it. For years, I believed that if I loved harder, waited longer, forgave more, sacrificed more, or became more understanding, eventually someone would choose me. I wasn't just pursuing relationships. I was pursuing permission to believe I mattered to someone. That realization changed everything for me. Because healing doesn't begin when someone finally chooses you. Healing begins when you stop believing that someone else's choice determines your value. Think about it for a moment. How much of your life has been shaped by waiting for someone else to confirm what was already true about you? What opportunity did you avoid because rejection convinced you that you weren't capable? What relationship did you stay in because loneliness felt more frightening than settling? And what dreams did you abandon because criticism became louder than your own potential? These are not just relationship questions, these are identity questions. When our identity is wounded, every area of our life is affected. The beautiful thing about healing is that it changes more than your relationships. It changes the way you make decisions. It changes the boundaries you establish. It changes what you tolerate. It changes how you see yourself. Eventually, you stop asking, will they choose me? And instead, you begin asking, is this relationship healthy enough for me to choose it? That's a completely different question. I want you to notice the shift. The power moves from them back to you. You are no longer auditioning for acceptance. You are evaluating whether a relationship aligns with your values, your peace, and your emotional health. This is what healing looks like. One of the central messages of my book, Chosen Not Chasing, is that freedom begins when we separate our identity from other people's decisions. Whether you're a person of faith or someone simply asking, how do I become healed? The principle remains the same. Your work cannot be measured by another person's willingness to recognize it. People reject amazing people every day. People walk away from healthy relationships every day. People make decisions based on their own fears, their own wounds, timing, and their own limitations. Their choice is not always a reflection of your value. Sometimes it's simply a reflection of where they are. So if you're listening today and you've been carrying the weight of rejection, I want to leave you with one question. What if the greatest healing of your life isn't finding someone who finally chooses you? What if it's discovering that your value was never waiting for someone else's approval in the first place? That's the journey I invite readers to take in my book, Chosen Not Chasing. It's not a book about blaming the people who hurt you. It's a book about understanding why we chose, why we chase, and how those patterns develop, and how we finally become free from believing that someone else's decision determines our identity. If this message spoke to you, I encourage you to pick up a copy of Chosen Not Chasing on Amazon by Michelle Thomas. And remember this, stop chasing what cannot define you. Start living from the truth that your worth has never depended on another person's choice. You were never unchosen. If you want more support for your healing journey, please go to Amazon and purchase our book, Chosen Not Chasing.